Well, as the LCBO strike now drags into day 7, so does the Ford government's commitment to giving the sector a facelift, and that includes a heavier promotion of Ontario-made products. James Hume is a sales and operations beverage alcohol consultant, joins us live via FaceTime to give us his thoughts. James, appreciate your time this morning. I know you have some concerns about how the province is sort of maybe setting up the cards to go against craft brewers. What seems to be happening in this side of the industry, especially in light of what's happening with the LCBO strike here?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern I would say would be how the convenience store rollout is going to happen. On the surface, it sounds like a great idea. Additional distribution points are always a good thing, but my fear is that it's going to be skewed heavily towards bigger brands. I think the government's mandated 20% to be dedicated to local small producers. But if you look at a convenience outlet that maybe has 200 square feet dedicated to beverage alcohol, that's 160 square feet going to big brands and only 40 square feet going to smaller craft producers that have to be split among the other categories like Ontario Craft, Ontario Craft Beer, Ontario Craft Cider, and wines as well. So if you're not in the top 20% of sales, it's going to be very difficult to get shelf space in the convenience outlets.
And so, James, we talk about, Doug Ford keeps talking about promoting Ontario, but is the LCBO in its current setup, is it doing enough to promote whether it's craft beer or even, local wineries here? Is that enough of a focus? And can the LCBO help the industry?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think the LCBO has always been a strong supporter of Ontario craft beer, for sure. If you go look at the beer section, the craft beer is definitely over-indexed on space relative to the amount of revenue that it generates, which is great. So I'm hoping that the letter that came out from the Ministry of Finance to the LCBO to ramp up, more promotions geared towards the small beverage producers is going to help to kind of prop up some of those sales as well. And because I don't feel like we're going to get it from the convenience outlets.
So I'm curious, James, what is it you think that the province or the government could do to better help the craft brewing industry? I keep hearing things about tax relief, taxing on cans, things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely some form of tax reform needs to happen. It's going to be very difficult for small producers to compete in these new retail channels if they don't have the money to support promotions and things like that. So I think definitely some form of tax relief. Ontario has the highest beverage alcohol tax over any other province in Canada, and they could definitely use that money.
And James, I haven't heard much talk about this in the Ford government's discussions about how they want to sort of revolutionize or change the way alcohol is distributed and sold in this province. Do you potentially think that what they're looking at may kick open the door to more private beer stores rather than just selling on site from your brewery or through the LCBO or beer store, et cetera? Is that something that you think could potentially help brewers as well?
Yeah, I think if you look at sort of the Alberta model, which is different than what they're doing in Ontario, they're allowed to have, standalone full beverage alcohol outlets that, might be 1,000 square feet, so comparable to the LCBO, and they have the space to support, large manufacturers as well as craft manufacturers as well. So I think that would be sort of the aim long term that I think would definitely benefit the industry as a whole in Ontario.
But in the here and now, James, just how devastating is this LCBO strike to the craft beer industry?
Yeah, it's significant for sure. I think, we've definitely seen an uptick in bars and restaurant sales and also online sales as well. But I don't think it's going to be near enough to make up for the losses that these suppliers are realizing as a result of the LCBO being closed.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened when everything sort of shut down during COVID. All of the brewers and wineries quickly pivoted to the distribution and the online sales. Not sure if they can flip the switch that quickly. What are you hearing from the brewers, James?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been an effort to sort of promote, their online their online stores to get products out there as well. And I think it's still a little early to really understand what the full impact's going to be. Like you mentioned, we're only into day 7 of the strike, but I mean, obviously the hope is that LCBO and OPSU can come to an agreement sooner than later and open the doors, and we can start rolling out some programs that are going to support these small beverage producers.
We'll keep watching and see. That is James Hume, Sales and Operations Beverage Alcohol Consultant. James, appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nick.